Hello, everybody. It's Gary Stuckey with Real Music. On today's show, I've got an awesome guest that I've talked to years ago. Never had a chance to meet him yet, but he's the drummer for Sawyer Brown. He's Joe Smyth. Yeah, a good friend of my late Uncle Terry. And it's so cool to catch up with him and talk about Sawyer Brown's brand new single. It's called Under This Old Hat. And they got a brand new documentary out. It's called Get Me to the Stage on Time. So we're going to talk about that and then a lot more. So here we go. Here's Joe Smyth. But I've been wanting to talk to you since those days.
Oh, good. I'm glad this worked out.
Yeah, I'm real glad too. I mean, I'm excited for your you're talking about the documentary. You got a new single out with Sawyer Brown.
Right.
So let's talk about that. The new single. That single sounds like you could have released it 30 something years ago. It still sounds fresh, but it sounds like Sawyer Brown. You're not trying to do something different, but it does sound fresh. Talking about Under This Old Hat. That sounds like it just summarizes the whole history, right?
It really is. It's a song that certainly is about us. And yeah, I mean, I don't think we're this far into it. We want to sound like anybody other than us. And everybody's happy for it. The fans are loving it. We're going to get ready to start playing it live. So that will be exciting. And yeah, I mean, it just really, I think it fits us well.
Right. And the documentary, just made a documentary, and y'all played it for some people in Nashville. And so tell me about that documentary. Pretty cool stuff.
It was over a year in the making, and Mark's daughter, Madison, wrote it, put the storyline together, and we've been shooting bits and pieces in hotels and venues and buses for about the last year. They flew around the country interviewing people like Dolly Parton, just various people that were weighing in on us. So great interview stuff. And then they put it all together and edited it, and it's way better than I thought it could be. And
awesome.
And Mark, our singer, said, I just wanted to make something so our kids could know what we did, And my youngest son, I mean, my oldest two kids grew up from the time they were 4 on the bus. So they lived through all the 90s and, cool. Touring. My youngest son is 24, and there's 26 years of footage he's never seen. He's never seen me that age.
Wow.
During the 80s. So it was, and then after, it was the Nashville Film Festival. And they were doing premiering it at the Franklin Theater here in Franklin, Tennessee. And after it's 90 minutes long. After it was over, we got up and did 10 songs acoustic.
Oh, wow.
And we had our first and second guitar player, and now the one we've had for 20 plus years. So we had the whole original gang.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
all
cool.
day. Yeah.
Well, I saw the little clip from it, and the little trailer. Right. You got Dolly on there, Blake Shelton. And then Blake said something about you're like, this is the best band of the 90s or something like that. He said Garth Brooks is going to be ticked off.
He sure did. Yeah, Blake was the executive producer on it. And yeah, man, it's so much even better than I would have expected. And it will be somewhere in a streaming format, Netflix, Amazon. It'll be somewhere soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see it. And will they release it like on like DVD or something, or will it be available like that?
I don't know. If it makes sense to print them and do that, they will. Pretty much everything is streaming anymore.
Yeah.
But we will. I would love to have it available like that. Yeah,
that'd be cool. Yeah. Well, tell me this now. Go back way in time. Let's take a time machine and travel back to the early days. How did you start playing drums? Did you bang on pots like most, or did you just feel it and just start you picked up the drums and you were a natural, right?
Well, you know, when I was little, like baby practically, my grandfather would buy me a little tin drum, and I'd strap it on, and he and I'd march around in the driveway. And he was from Ireland, and so I guess I always had a little bit of affinity towards that. But when I was in first, second, third grade, I wanted to be a scientist, and then I wanted to be an astronaut. And I went to the fifth grade, and we had fifth and sixth grade band, and I picked drum, and there was no looking back. I
Right.
mean, my parents said from fifth grade on, there was no doubt what I was going to do with my life.
And they
So
got the earplugs too, right?
yeah, no. Well, my dad, interestingly enough, is deaf in one ear,
Oh,
and he worked shift work at the paper mill. So all he would do if my rock band was practicing, Led Zeppelin tunes in the basement, he would just sleep on his good ear, and he could sleep through it.
so it worked out pretty
Yeah.
good for it. Well, tell me now, some of the bands you started off playing with, I mean, were they like rock bands or they country bands or what were they?
Back home, I played every kind of music except country music.
Wow.
And when I was a kid and my parents would have the radio on in the car, and they'd tune in the country station. This would be, in the 60s. And I'd be like, oh man, come on, turn that off. But it's been a wonderful place to be for the last 40 years for me. It's really been a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, going to Star Search had to be a big deal, and for the band. And, so how did the band go from just being a regular band to being on Star Search and making it like that?
We were playing clubs uh 5, 6 nights a week, drive through Nashville, say hello to our wives, drive, and then play 6 more nights somewhere else. So the first year we were together, we had played 315 days the
Wow.
first year. And, not making any money, playing Ramada Inns and Holiday Inns and playing some original stuff and, showing up. Nobody knew who we were. And by the end of the week, we'd be packing the place. So video was just getting started. And our manager at the time, who was really a booking agent, he said, hey, when you're in town Monday, you got to go downtown and they're going to shoot a video. And we're going to use it to get more club work. So we said, oh man, that's a one day off, but we'll do it. Well, we get there and we find out it's a Star Search open call. So they've called managers and booking agents. And so we show up and they're like, girls with batons and dog acts and dancers and all this stuff, and we're in spangly outfits, and we're going, oh my gosh, he has wasted our one day off. We're here. And we had seen the pilot for the show. I think John Schneider was the host. They had shot one episode and we'd seen it on TV months before that. And we were like, man, this thing is so Hollywood. It's slick. We're never going to get on this show. So we just blew it off and we just messed around. We sang a tune and, kicked over the drums and the amplifiers like the Who and just, said, thank you very much. And basically just hammed it up and blew it off. Well, they sent the film overnight to LA and they were calling the next night saying, you have to get these guys in LA, into Hollywood. So they called us and said, hey, can you be in Hollywood next week? And we said, well, we have some clubs. And they said, well, cancel those. So we canceled some club work. We flew out there. They said, well, here's your per diem. And we said, well, what's per diem? We didn't know what that was. And they said, well, it's money we give you to eat. And we're going to pay for the hotel. We're going to pay for the flights. And we were like, what's wrong with this? This is actually a free trip to Hollywood. But did no means expected to win. And then we won, and then we kept winning. So yeah, it was complete almost happenstance that we got on that show. Really.
That's so cool. I actually remember that. I was a little kid, but I remember watching and I know. So what was Ed McMahon like to be around?
He was a real professional. He would do rehearsals with us and then jump in a limo and go across town and film the Tonight Show. I mean, he was working 2, 3 jobs a day, and he was, you know, ancient. He'd been around forever. He had nothing to
Yeah.
prove. He was a workaholic. His wife at the time loved us. Uh, Before the tapings, because it's like, wow, if there's not enough anxiety in the music business, we'll make this into a competition, right? So we'd all be a little nervous before each night's taping, and he would have us in his dressing room and kind of just talk with us and calm us down. And we hung out with him, and he was really, really a friend to us. He was a good
So,
guy. Yeah.
so cool. Well, some people wait. They waited for the envelope to show up with Ed. You didn't have to wait for the envelope, but you he came to you. That's pretty good.
It
No,
did. It did. Yes, it did.
but those are some interesting times. I was watching some of those clips though, and there was a band that y'all beat. I think maybe the first round. They were like the champions or something. Named Kid Danger. Whatever happened to Kid Danger? Do you know about them?
I don't remember what happened to them. There was a band on there called um, Dallas. I think they were called maybe on the show. They were from Dallas, and they were kind of like a lover boy kind of
Yeah.
rock band, and we loved them. In fact, we stayed in touch with them, and when we were passing through Dallas, we if we had a night off, we'd go see them play somewhere because we loved them. There was another band called Sidewinder. They were really big in I think North or South Carolina. There was a band of 3 girls called Hot, and they had a record out on the charts,
Wow.
and they had some recording stuff they had done. So there were all kinds of different people that had done stuff, and we just got out there and kept winning.
And I'm glad you did. It got you somewhere. But did people though, like critics, did they not take you seriously back then as far as a band? They're looking at this Star Search band. Did they kind of say this ain't a real band? How'd they look at y'all winning that?
Yes, there was some of that. I mean, the critics were had their own beef. The record labels, because when all you did was win money, you didn't win a recording contract. So we still had to go out and secure that. Well, at the time, basically all the labels in Nashville had passed on us. We had done some showcases and, meet with them the next day. And they say, well, you're too young. You jump around too much. You don't wear cowboy hats. And we were like, okay, these are negatives. And when the show got popular, we were doing, we had done like 9 weeks on the show and then with reruns, but some markets it was on at 8 o'clock on Saturday nights. It was prime time TV. In Nashville, it was on at 11 at night, Friday night after the Rockford File reruns. So
Wow.
it was nowhere. But then, when it became near the end of the show, the finals, and we would go to a hotel, the Hyatt on Sunset Boulevard, and there would be fruit baskets and bottles of champagne from your friends at RCA Records, from your friends at Capitol Records. And they were calling their Nashville offices saying, well, why haven't you told us about these people? And the guys are like, well, actually, we know about them. We passed on them. So
Wow.
the labels were in a bad place. And radio really only wanted to see people come up the traditional way. You know what I mean? Radio felt like we break you. Well, 50 million people saw the final episode of Star Search, and nobody really knew what to do with that. Today, that's not an issue, but pre-internet,
Yeah.
We were like, hey, take an ad out in TV Guide, for goodness sake. 50 million people know who we are.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah, totally different times back then.
Yes,
Which kind of proves that went through a lot of stuff to get to where you are. I guess you'll see that probably in the documentary that it wasn't an
absolutely.
easy road, right? To to make it this far for 40 years, it ain't like it was a cakewalk, right? It's been some hard times, right?
Well, absolutely. We played in Reno one time, and it was right after Star Search, I think, and we were playing the showroom, so we alternated with a dancer act, right? A bunch of dancers, and the only people that came to our show were gamblers that wanted to get off their feet for an hour. you know, uh, so it was not glamorous, and it was slushy and snowy, and the weather was nasty, and we were staying in a terrible hotel, and we would just every morning we'd get up and two different guys would quit the band.
Oh
Say,
boy.
that's it, I'm out of here. And
Wow.
none of us did, but yeah, I mean, we definitely paid our dues, before and after the show.
Right. Wow. That's rough, man. Um, so tell me when you first started gaining popularity, I know you after Star Search, it probably took, a little while to prove yourself. So when did you realize, okay, we've proven ourselves as a band? What moment was that you really thought, yep, we're here?
It's funny. I don't know that I mean, in one respect, yes, we've realized, but in another respect, we've always felt like you're only as good as last night's show or the last record you put out or record. Um, we're always striving to if people don't leave going, that's the best show I've ever seen, or that's top 10 show I've seen, you've lost a fan, and maybe a repeat customer. So we've always had that mindset. So we never have sat back. If we go to award show and win an award, we leave town that night on a bus and play somewhere in middle America the next night. If we win the award, same thing. You
Right,
get up in the morning, put your pants on one leg at a time, whether you
right,
win it or you don't.
right.
But we got, it took a year to get management and a record label signed up. And, even when you get that stuff done, getting it all to fit together into a working machine takes a while.
Yeah.
And we were lucky at the time that, Kenny Rogers had seen us on the show and called us up and said, hey, would you come out and be the opening act with me and Dolly Parton, on the Islands in the Stream tour. And we went to Japan with Kenny. We went everywhere in the United States for
Wow.
22 months. And uh, we worked 2 weeks with him and then 2 weeks of our own shows. And he really put us in front of a bunch of people
Awesome.
quickly. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Um, and I was thinking about, I know you're a drummer. That takes a lot of stamina. I don't think people realize, that's probably why the drummers sit down because it's just too tiring.
Well, when I go see my primary care physician, he says, well, how much exercising are you doing? I said, I'm playing drums for 90 minutes a night.
Come on.
Yeah.
Really? He had to ask that question. That's like running, 20 miles or something. So you got to have a lot of energy, but that's something that I've always noticed about Sawyer Brown, the energy, especially like Mark. Did he ever, think back in the day, he's dancing around, you're playing the drums and smiling and having a good time. A lot of energy, though. Did you think that after 40 years you'd still be together and maybe you needed to conserve some of that energy for later?
That's a good point. That's a good question. Um, I will say that it isn't as easy to do at 65 as it was to do at 25.
Right.
But it's always to us been about the show. I mean, that's the reason you're out on the road. You'd see other acts, other bands, staying up all night, partying, abusing themselves, and then they wear out, they burn out. And we always like conserve what we had, for that time of the show. If you got energy left over, that's fine.
Right.
You better be able to bring it when it comes to be 8 o'clock.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't see how some of those guys do that, but that's a good point though. That's why you're still here after all these years.
Right. Yeah.
Um, the song, I remember the song Some Girls Do in the video, and I think that song came out and I was like, I think I was some girl had dumped me or something, and that song came on the radio, and they were laughing at me because but it was kind of like my anthem. Some girls
Yeah.
don't like boys like me, but some girls do. And I fit in that category about the I'm not the white trash and high class. I'm kind of in between that, maybe. I don't know, Alabama, but that had to be a great song and fun song for everybody to hear back then, right?
I mean, we still close the show with it. I mean, there's nothing bigger that we do other than that song. And I mean, all five of us were from small hometowns. My hometown was 14,000. And, that's where we're most comfortable. And none of us were GQ guys that got the best looking girl. It was just, we're those guys, and I love that song, you know, there hasn't been a whole lot of songs written for guys like you and me.
Right.
and and that's and so I feel kind of proud, that we've, you know, have that song. I mean, and we've had some songs that are, very serious, like The Walk.
Oh yeah.
And and I feel, pretty good that, at the end of our career, we didn't sing songs about six packs and tractors.
Right.
I think our songs will have held up over the years.
Yeah. You're talking about The Walk. That's probably my favorite song by y'all. Lyrically and just I don't know, it's a touching song. But I think that's the whole point of music is to reach somebody and to and it's got to be cool for you, especially you're sitting back there on the drums. You get to see all these people singing a song like The Walk or Some Girls Do, and you're looking out and they're singing it word for word, and they maybe grew up with the song or they have kids that grew up, three generations probably of people that enjoyed the music, and you get a pretty good view. How does it feel every night to see those people?
I tell people I have the best seat in the house, right? From where I'm at. And yeah, you can see people in down front. I mean, 14-year-old kids singing every word. And it's like, these songs are older than they are. Their mama or their daddy's been playing it for them. And yeah, we've seen people that would come to our show, get married, have kids, have the kids come to the show, get married, and they're bringing their kids. So we have seen three generations of fans. We used to look at Oak Ridge Boys and go, man, can you believe that they've been around that long to have three generations of fans? And then, one day you're looking around and you know, wow, we're doing it. Yeah.
And you're still doing, you're still going.
Yeah.
And something I was going to tell you, my dad always he always said that y'all sounded like Gordon Lightfoot is what he said, that Mark Miller. Have you ever heard that? Gordon Lightfoot?
We've heard Mark. People have compared Mark to Gordon Lightfoot. And I just went back with Spotify and listened to every record that Gordon Lightfoot ever put out. And what an amazing amount of songs and beautiful music that he recorded.
Right. So I guess Mark would take that as a compliment, I'm guessing, right?
Yes, very much so.
Um, and the new single though, so that's been out there for a little bit? Has that been taken off? The fans are already liking that. You got to be excited about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so different now that you have, streaming and everything, but fans are excited to have something new. We're excited to have something new to start playing. Uh, you know, if radio decided they wanted to play it, that would be wonderful, but we've been in 40 years, we've been a band that, we've had hits, we've had number one, number twos, top 10, But in the end, really, it's our live shows have been our meat and potatoes of what we do, and the great thing about that is, radio is fickle. If the sound changes, or if they decide you're too old for them, or they want somebody new, that's fine. That's the way music progresses. But fans, they're not fickle. They'll
Right.
be with you forever. And so, we put our energy always into our live show, and it's paid back over and over and over because we have the best fans in the world, I think.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that's how a lot of acts are making it, because you're not making it on Spotify. I think you get like a penny
Yeah,
for every thousand songs.
yeah,
It's crazy. It's
yeah,
just, it's a different world. You're not out there just selling albums and pushing singles and they're making money, but you rely on the people at the concerts, which are the main ones that matter anyway. And
yeah,
that's something to think about. And they're also buying older, maybe CDs or something, or maybe they're buying T-shirts. They're paying for VIPs or something, but they're helping you out because they love you. And a lot of these radio stations, and Spotify, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, those real fans, and some of the fans that have been there the whole time, that have never uh, given up on you, those are probably the ones that are excited the most, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. Well, y'all have shows. Y'all doing some shows coming up, right? What you got coming up this week?
Well, we leave tomorrow night and go up to Ohio and come back. We're playing the Opry next week, I think Thursday night, and then heading out to uh, out west again. We've been everywhere this summer, and it's just now starting to slow down to weekends. Um, and we just did a couple of weekends in Texas, and headed maybe to California, Nevada again, Utah. So we're about everywhere at once.
That's cool. Uh, well, I'm excited for you. I'm glad to finally meet you. I won't keep you, but they can go to Sawyer Brown's website for more information, right, about the band,
Absolutely.
uh, and check you out. Well, it's been a nice meeting after all these years to see you, and I thank you for being a friend of my Uncle Terry, um, and for all the good music for all these years. And I'm looking forward to some more. I'm looking forward to that documentary. I'll be looking out for that.
Good, good. That's all good, and I can't wait to have you out to a show and let you see it up close.
I will definitely do that. That's what's good about doing these kind of shows. You get invited. You got to take people up on that. I need to do that, but I will
Yep.
definitely do that. Well, you have a good day, and I will be seeing you very soon. Oh,
Sounds great.
alrighty. Bye. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Yeah, like I said, go check out their website, SawyerBrown.com, and check them out on tour. They'll be hitting the road, going up to Ohio and some other places this week. So check them out, and stay tuned for more interviews right here on Real Music. And always remember to keep the music real.